abandon,
abandon,
abduction,
abduction,
abstract,
abstract,
ancestral,
ancestral,
accumulate,
accumulate,
accuracy,
accuracy,
anesthesia,
anesthesia,
animism,
animism,
annex,
annex,
accuse,
accuse,
acquire,
acquire,
acquisition,
acquisition,
adapt,
adapt,
anomaly,
anomaly,
anticipate,
anticipate,
antipathy,
antipathy,
apex,
apex,
addictive,
addictive,
apprehend,
apprehend,
adjacent,
adjacent,
adjust,
adjust,
arbitrary,
arbitrary,
arrogantly,
arrogantly,
adolescent,
adolescent,
artillery,
artillery,
advent,
advent,
ascertain,
ascertain,
adversely,
adversely,
assail,
assail,
advocate,
advocate,
assess,
assess,
affection,
affection,
affluence,
affluence,
aggravate,
aggravate,
aggregate,
aggregate,
agnostic,
agnostic,
allegedly,
allegedly,
allegiance,
allegiance,
allocate,
allocate,
amateurish,
amateurish,
ambiguous,
ambiguous,
amend,
amend,
analyze,
analyze,
asset,
asset,
assimilate,
assimilate,
associate,
associate,
astrological,
astrological,
atheist,
atheist,
augment,
augment,
authority,
authority,
battle,
battle,
be inclined to,
be inclined to,
berate,
berate,
biased,
biased,
bitterly,
bitterly,
bond,
bond,
bribery,
bribery,
bulk,
bulk,
burden,
burden,
bureaucratic,
bureaucratic,
candidate,
candidate,
capricious,
capricious,
cartel,
cartel,
cast,
cast,
catastrophic,
catastrophic,
cause,
cause,
cease,
cease,
certifiably,
certifiably,
charismatic,
charismatic,
chronologically,
chronologically,
circulate,
circulate,
civil,
civil,
clique,
clique,
coalition,
coalition,
coerce,
coerce,
cohesion,
cohesion,
coincide,
coincide,
collapse,
collapse,
collide,
collide,
combustion,
combustion,
commodity,
commodity,
compensate,
compensate,
complex,
complex,
compass,
compress,
concentrated,
concentrated,
condemn,
condemn,
confide,
confide,
conflict,
conflict,
connotation,
connotation,
conquest,
conquest,
consciously,
consciously,
consequence,
consequence,
constraint,
constraint,
contamination,
contamination,
contemplate,
contemplate,
contemptuous,
contemptuous,
contest,
contest,
convey,
convey,
convict,
convict,
core,
core,
corrode,
corrode,
cremation,
cremation,
cultivation,
cultivation,
cumbersome,
cumbersome,
cure,
cure,
curriculum,
curriculum,
cynically,
cynically,
de facto,
de facto,
decipher,
decipher,
decline,
decline,
decrepit,
decrepit,
degrade,
degrade,
deify,
deify,
delinquency,
delinquency,
denominator,
denominator,
denote,
denote,
deny,
deny,
depict,
depict,
deplete,
deplete,
derive,
derive,
descendant,
descendant,
despise,
despise,
despondent,
despondent,
detain,
detain,
detection,
detection,
deviant,
deviant,
devise,
devise,
devotion,
devotion,
dilemma,
dilemma,
dimension,
dimension,
diminish,
diminish,
discreetly,
discreetly,
discriminate,
discriminate,
dispose of,
dispose of,
distill,
distill,
distinctly,
distinctly,
distort,
distort,
diverse,
diverse,
divination,
divination,
domesticate,
domesticate,
dynamic,
dynamic,
ecclesiastical,
ecclesiastical,
election,
election,
elementally,
elementally,
elite,
elite,
emission,
emission,
engender,
engender,
enterprising,
enterprising,
entrepreneurial,
entrepreneurial,
equity,
equity,
erode,
erode,
erudite,
erudite,
eruption,
eruption,
aesthetically,
aesthetically,
evade,
evade,
evolve,
evolve,
exalt,
exalt,
exotic,
exotic,
expeditiously,
expeditiously,
exploit,
exploit,
exponentially,
exponentially,
extract,
extract,
famine,
famine,
fatally,
fatally,
feasibly,
feasibly,
fertilize,
fertilize,
flood,
flood,
fluctuate,
fluctuate,
folklore,
folklore,
forensics,
forensics,
fortify,
fortify,
fossilize,
fossilize,
fringe,
fringe,
gala,
gala,
gap,
gap,
generation,
generation,
grotesque,
grotesque,
guilty,
guilty,
gut,
gut,
haggle,
haggle,
haunt,
haunt,
hazardous,
hazardous,
hedonistic,
hedonistic,
hierarchy,
hierarchy,
hilarious,
hilarious,
horror,
horror,
humiliation,
humiliation,
hypocritically,
hypocritically,
hypothesize,
hypothesize,
illiterate,
illiterate,
impact,
impact,
impair,
impair,
implant,
implant,
implement,
implement,
implicate,
implicate,
implicitly,
implicitly,
impoverish,
impoverish,
improvisation,
improvisation,
in common,
in common,
in the trenches,
in the trenches,
inaugurate,
inaugurate,
incentive,
incentive,
incompetent,
incompetent,
indisputable,
indisputable,
industrious,
industrious,
inference,
inference,
infinitesimal,
infinitesimal,
inflation,
inflation,
ingenious,
ingenious,
inherent,
inherent,
inheritance,
inheritance,
inhibit,
inhibit,
inject,
inject,
innovative,
innovative,
inquiry,
inquiry,
inscription,
inscription,
installation,
installation,
integrally,
integrally,
integrity,
integrity,
intensify,
intensify,
intentionally,
intentionally,
interdict,
interdict,
intermediary,
intermediary,
intervene,
intervene,
intrepid,
intrepid,
intrinsic,
intrinsic,
intrusively,
intrusively,
intuitively,
intuitively,
invasive,
invasive,
invoke,
invoke,
irrigation,
irrigation,
jointly,
jointly,
juxtapose,
juxtapose,
kin,
kin,
lease,
lease, legitimate, 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 legitimate,
liability,
liability,
longitude,
longitude,
loyal,
loyal,
luxury,
luxury,
maintenance,
maintenance,
manipulation,
manipulation,
marginal,
marginal,
maximize,
maximize,
meditate,
meditate,
medium,
medium,
merchant,
merchant,
merit,
merit,
migration,
migration,
milieu,
milieu,
minimum,
minimum,
misconception,
misconception,
mobilize,
mobilize,
modify,
modify,
net,
net,
nobility,
nobility,
notion,
notion,
nucleus,
nucleus,
obese,
obese,
objectively,
objectively,
obnoxious,
obnoxious,
obtain,
obtain,
offense,
offense,
oppress,
oppress,
Orwellian,
Orwellian,
overlap,
overlap,
paradigm,
paradigm,
parallel,
parallel,
parochial,
parochial,
passion,
passion,
paternal,
paternal,
peer,
peer,
per capita,
per capita,
permeate,
permeate,
persevere,
persevere,
persist,
persist,
perspective,
perspective,
phantom,
phantom,
phonetic,
phonetic,
photosynthesis,
photosynthesis,
physical,
physical,
pious,
pious,
piracy,
piracy,
pirates,
pirates,
plunge,
plunge,
policy,
policy,
pole,
pole,
portrayal,
portrayal,
potent,
potent,
precipitation,
precipitation,
predicament,
predicament,
prejudiced,
prejudiced,
prestige,
prestige,
prevailing,
prevailing,
prevalent,
prevalent,
privileged,
privileged,
procedure,
procedure,
process,
process,
prognosis,
prognosis,
proliferation,
proliferation,
promote,
promote,
proportion,
proportion,
proportionately,
proportionately,
proprietor,
proprietor,
prosper,
prosper,
prototype,
prototype,
proximity,
proximity,
psychic,
psychic,
rank,
rank,
rate,
rate,
ratio,
ratio,
realism,
realism,
rebel,
rebel,
recede,
recede,
reciprocity,
reciprocity,
reconciliation,
reconciliation,
reform,
reform,
regulate,
regulate,
relic,
relic,
reservoir,
reservoir,
residual,
residual,
resign,
resign,
resist,
resist,
retain,
retain,
retrieve,
retrieve,
reward,
reward,
rigor,
rigor,
right,
right,
ritually,
ritually,
roster,
roster,
rotate,
rotate,
sacrifice,
sacrifice,
safeguard,
safeguard,
saga,
saga,
scandal,
scandal,
scar,
scar,
secular,
secular,
seep,
seep,
seize,
seize,
self-perpetuating,
self-perpetuating,
sentiment,
sentiment,
sequence,
sequence,
severely,
severely,
shame,
shame,
shrink,
shrink,
shuttle,
shuttle,
sibling,
sibling,
simulation,
simulation,
skit,
skit,
smuggle,
smuggle,
solar,
solar,
soul,
soul,
solidarity,
solidarity,
source,
source,
spectrum,
spectrum,
stable,
stable,
status quo,
status quo,
stigmatize,
stigmatize,
strategic,
strategic,
striking,
striking,
structure,
structure,
subsidy,
subsidy,
subtly,
subtly,
surveillance,
surveillance,
survive,
survive,
suspect,
suspect,
suspend,
suspend,
suspicious,
suspicious,
symbolic,
symbolic,
tangible,
tangible,
tolerate,
tolerate,
trend,
trend,
trigger,
trigger,
unleash,
unleash,
unmask,
unmask,
vanish,
vanish,
vanity,
vanity,
vain,
vain,
verdict,
verdict,
versus, prep,
versus, prep,
vestige,
vestige,
villainy,
villainy,
violation,
violation,
vitriolic,
vitriolic,
vulnerable,
vulnerable,
willing,
willing,
witness,
witness,
working class,
working class,
wound,
wound,
zeal,
zeal,